This is what our oceans currently look like. It is our duty as fishermen to make sure that this doesn't happen. We can help stop this. Here are 3 ways how.
Hey guys, it's Erin. I'm usually behind the camera, but today I'm going to step out in front to talk to you guys about fishing and the environment and some easy things that you can do to help conserve the environment when you're fishing. So comment below if you have heard before that recreational fishing only accounts for 2 to 3% of the fish taken out of the water. That was me. I definitely heard that. I definitely thought that. I asked Brendan, he had heard that before too, but when I was doing research for this episode, I found out that recreational fishing actually accounts for almost 1/4 of the fish taken out of the water. That's a lot of fish, okay? That's a lot of fish that people aren't really thinking about when we think about harvesting. You know, usually we think about commercial fishing and how that impacts the environment with like drag netting and bycatching and all that, but we're not really thinking about this recreational fishing that are taking a lot of fish out of the water. So I'm gonna give you 3 things that you can do to reduce your impact on the environment when you're fishing. The first thing we're gonna talk about is your monofilament line, and actually all trash that you find on the shorelines. Something that I believe in, that I know a lot of you guys believe in when I post about this on Instagram or whatever, is that you should always leave your favorite fishing spot cleaner than when you found it. When we got here today, there was a ton of trash everywhere, and I actually went around and picked up everything, and luckily there are trash and recycling receptacles here, so I was able to dispose of those properly. One thing that I definitely want to remind you about is your fishing line. I see fishing line everywhere, and it doesn't seem like a lot when I find one line, but then I find another, and I find another, and I find another, and soon I have a huge ball of fishing line that I have to get rid of. I was telling a story on Instagram about how this fisherman was walking by me one time, and he had fishing line stuck around his ankle, and he just cut it off, and I just wish that all marine life had that ability to just cut themselves out of this stuff, but they don't, so we have to definitely do it for them. We have to pick up that stuff when we see it. So that's pretty easy. But the second thing that I want to talk about is our bycatch. Now, when we think about recreational and sports fishing, we don't think about bycatch a lot. When we think about bycatch, we think about big dragging nets catching like sea turtles and things that they're not meant to catch. But something that I thought was interesting was when we catch, like say you're targeting a striper and you accidentally catch a perch and you gut hook it by accident, that's considered bycatch, and we need to take that into consideration when we're thinking about fish that we're eating and harvesting. Something you can do to reduce your bycatch is to fish with no treble hooks. First of all, those 3 treble hooks are really, really bad for fish. Fish with a barbless hook if you know that you're not going to be harvesting your fish. Definitely use things that are of regulation, and try to practice catch and release as much as you can with wet hands so that you don't get rid of that protective slimy coating on the fish, and do your best to get it back in the water as soon as possible, because even though we think that we're practicing catch and release a lot of the time, there's a post-release mortality, and we don't think about that a lot. The last thing to think about is when you're getting to your fishing spot, are you trampling any kind of vegetation? Are you going through the water? Are you messing up the weeds? Are you messing up the algae? Are you messing up the grass and the trees and everything in your way? Are you creating a big destructive path just to get to your spot? If so, please try to find another way there, because that is really disruptive to the entire food chain. You know, there are a lot of organisms and life and algae and plants that you're destroying, and that really has an impact. So 3 things that you can do: pick up your trash, all right? Pick it up. It's easy. Don't leave it there. If you lose something, go get it. If you can't, do your best. Second, catch and release. Reduce your bycatch, right? Think about really selectively harvest. I think that's really the key, is selectively harvest. Release everything that you're not going to eat, okay? Because if all of us, there are 20 million of us fishing in the US, okay? If all of us keep 1 fish, that's 20 million fish. That's so many fish. All right, the third thing that you can do is find a better way to your spot so that you don't destroy any vegetation or weeds on the way there. If we all do this, you know, it's not one person doing this. If we all do this, we can make an impact, okay? I'm just one person. You know, Brendan and I are not always perfect. I think that this is something that you need to practice and really be mindful about and really be thinking about when you're fishing. You can't just be super focused on those fish. You gotta really take into account everything that's around you. You know, you're part of this whole world, and you really need to take care of it. So that's my little talk. I want you guys to comment below any more tips, any more experiences that you've had. I really want to get a conversation started around this, so comment, subscribe if you like this. See you next episode. Thank ya.